Hey guys, it's Verns, back here again with another Supercoach video. This time it is the NBL Round 5 review, and we had a pretty good week. We put out a 398, we increased our season rank to 44, so up 10 places and back into the top 50, which is pretty sick. And yeah, honestly, a week that I thought was going to be dreadful for us, and probably for a lot of other people too. I mean, there was a lot of high-owned players that just did not get off the mark very well, and I thought it was going to be very punishing this week. Wasn't too punishing. Now, for any of those that do follow along on my X, I did make the announcement originally of my trades, and then I did change that because of the news that Cummings didn't didn't train. I think it was Thursday it was. So I decided to go back on that and move Creek in instead and move Cummings out. Now, it meant that I had a little bit less money to play with this week, which does hurt a little bit. But Creek ended up being sensational, and it was a net loss in points overall moving things the way I did, but it wasn't the end of the world. But no, some good weeks, some good games. I mean, that Harvey 3-win against Cairns. I mean, we thought Miller sealed the game. I wanted this to go to overtime because I wanted more points for Wardenberg and Clintman, but then Miller makes this 2, and I'm just like, oh, of course, Miller's just ending it. Good on you, Miller. And then Harvey just goes down the other end, and he's like, Lord, you think Miller's ending this? Bro, I'm ending this, and just splashes a massive 3. Like, that was awesome game. And then a lot of upsets, honestly, like upsets all week long. I'm just going to quickly click on the team here because I'm almost going to forget who's played, but there was a lot of upsets this week. That went to round 4. I swear I clicked 5. Here we go. Adelaide got up on New Zealand, and New Zealand didn't look good. But Illawarra also gets up there. Brisbane end up upsetting Tasmania, which was nuts. Cairns end up beating Sydney. Yeah, just a lot of upsets there, and just unexpected results, which, there's been a few times that I've made picks and decisions because of the fixture, and then the games just don't go the way that we expected. It ends up being an upset, or players just don't go off, and it just ends up being a mess. And as you can see, this is how the team actually looked. We only had 14k in the bank with this, but because I wasn't sure if Cummings was going to play, I thought it was better off to move him out and keep Creek, which, Creek went out with 40 and looked really good. So honestly, if he can do that again in his double game this week, that's going to be amazing for us. Unfortunately, it meant Travers ended up on the bench instead of Huck Porty. And that just, as you can see there, that's 21 points right there. On a technical basis, it's 21 points the difference. Once you halve that, because he would be on the bench, it's only 16 points. Wait, 21. What am I saying? 16? No, it's 12. Sorry. Technically it's 11.5, but it rounds up to 12. Where if I went Creek over Cummings put out a 22, ended up being 18 points there, so it was a +9. So it actually ended up being only losing me 3 points, so it really didn't matter that much, and I get to keep Creek for the double this week, so it's pretty sick, actually. So I'm going to say that was a win. But I'll go through the games quickly. First of all, New Zealand against Adelaide. As I said, unexpected upset there. There was this really nice play where Flowers got his pocket picked, and the very next play he went down, he just slammed it, and it was just like, wow. That was actually amazing, Flowers. Like, if you could do stuff like that more consistently, get these turnovers out of your game and do stuff like that, like, no wonder you're a next star. Like, when you do stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I can actually see where the potential is. I get it now. Like, because other than that, he hasn't been great. Obviously he was good, I think, like 2 weeks ago, but yeah, hasn't been the greatest performer. But a lot of people, if not everyone, should have had Parker Jackson Cartwright. I know in the top 1%, everyone that had him on the captaincy. I'm pretty sure. 80% of the competition did at least. And then a lot of other people went with some other pods. And this felt really bad in game 1. He only put down the 22 points. I'm just going to jump to the game day because it's a lot easier to keep track of them when I'm going through them. But he only put down the 22 points, and he didn't look good. He made a lot of turnovers. He didn't get the steals that he normally gets, and he missed a lot of buckets that I would have expected him to score. He just drove and just didn't finish. And as I said, an upset here where Adelaide ended up running over them. Lamb ended up being really good here, and so unfortunate for Cheatham owners, because he was looking unbelievable. He puts out 28 points and gets injured in the third. Like, this man was on track for at least 40 plus, and he just looked like such a good pickup, and now he's gone for what I think they said 6 to 8 weeks. Like, that's That's huge. That's so unfortunate for anyone that picked him up because it was actually the right play. It was brilliant, and then it just didn't work out. But these plays that McDowell White was giving to Cheatham, like the athleticism on Cheatham, insane. Like he just threw up these alley-oops constantly, and Cheatham would just somehow get to them when they looked way too high and then slam them down. And it was just so good. McDowell White couldn't score a bucket, but he was getting a bunch of assists. Delaney was a huge delight for them. And as I said, Cartwright didn't really do what Cartwright does. But the thing with New Zealand's lineup is that they're actually crazy small. Like they run a naturally small lineup, and then they rely on Cheatham's athleticism to make up for them running that smaller lineup by him sort of being at the 5 and just doing things that I think the taller opponents aren't expecting. He just was very athletic and just getting up on people, and then he gets injured, he gets out of the game, and all of a sudden this smaller lineup without the reliable Cheatham athleticism just got ran over. And honestly, I can see any center against New Zealand dominating them, and we saw that with Williams this week as well, Humphreys this week. The big men just beat down on this very small Breakers lineup, so that's something that I do think could be targeted going forward. If you see a team into New Zealand and you got their center, potentially could be a captain option going forward. And yeah, as I said, Parker Jackson Cartwright only with the, I'm just going to say PJC only having the 22 points here, and we're all sitting there. Everyone's sitting there just thinking, gosh, of course, last week he drops 45 when he's not in our team. This week he's in our team and he's dropping 22 as our captain. The only positive is 80% of the comp have him, and all the people that did the anti-pod are just raking in a massive win here. And I'm just going to jump to New Zealand's second game because, I mean, the big thing here with Parker Jackson Cartwright is obviously his second game, he drops 51. And all of a sudden this ends up being a 73 points for our captain, and it's massive. And this is the I guess the dangerous thing of not picking up Clintman or Parker Jackson Cartwright, because the way they play is like Clintman has quite a low floor, unfortunately, but they have crazy ceilings. And if they come in and hit a ceiling game, it's just nuts. And the scary thing is, imagine if they come out and hit 2 ceiling games like back to back, or even in a double they hit 2 ceiling games. Like, to not be on these guys is absolutely insane because they've just got these massive ceilings. And with Clintman's obviously money making he was going to make, he had to be a pickup just because of that, honestly. But Cartwright, yeah, he just has such a nuts ceiling. And honestly, 22, I feel like that's going to be one of his lowest games we see all year. That's a pretty good floor. Like, if you got that, it's really not the worst case scenario. It would definitely suck having the captaincy on him and getting it. But then since he has such a high ceiling, for him to be able to just turn it around like that, it's nuts. He's had now 3 games over 40 points. He's only played 5 games. He's gone 57, 51, 45, and then he's had, I think, a 29 and a 22, which, as I said, they're not even that bad in reality. Like, they're passable in a worst case scenario, especially when you can turn around and drop 40 plus easily. Like, as I said, 60% of his games over 45 points now. Like, that ceiling is insane, and it's too scary to not be on him, because if he hits these ceiling games, it's so punishing. And for everyone that originally anti-potted him and after the first game was sitting there absolutely chuffed that they made the correct move, they made the correct decision on the captaincy to go with someone else, they just got absolutely punished by this 51 in the next game. Like, what a monster he is. Like, crazy. And then just honestly, the rest of New Zealand it's so not Supercoach relevant. Like, Lamb comes out with a 5 where he's getting bully balled on by Williams because they just don't have the height, and because he's trying to play this inside role, he's not playing the outside role he played in game 1 where he looked a lot better. Delaney came back with 2 good games overall, but I don't know. I just don't think there's a reliable forward in this lineup. I just don't think there's a reliable player outside of PJC in the New Zealand lineup. So if we've got PJC in, great. Your lineup is done, and very unlucky if you brought Cheatham in, but your lineup's basically done at this point for New Zealand. We can disregard them and start looking at the other teams that have the good run, such as Perth has a good run over the next 3 weeks. As I mentioned, obviously, because everyone has the single on round 7, if you have the double on 6 and 8, then technically that's a double-double. You have 5 out of the 5 available games played. That's what Perth has. That's what New Zealand has here. That's what Cairns has. So they're the three teams that we're sort of looking at. But yeah, just if you have PJC, you're basically done at that point. We'll quickly just talk about South Melbourne here too, because at the end of the day, South Melbourne are on the double this week too for people that did keep them. And Williams is just such a massive talking point. Like, Williams is insane. Once again, he's playing bully ball against Lamb. Like, he's playing against a team that doesn't really have a center. But even in the other games he's played, like that we saw last week, he got over 30 points in both those games. Like, he just feels very reliable for a minimum, a high 20s, but 30 sort of plus, and somebody that can easily get, as we can see, towards this 46, 45 point margin. So someone that a lot of people are considering this week, saying that. I'm pretty sure South Phoenix's run isn't as easy this week. Yep. So, I mean, Brisbane, they're going to have Baines back, so maybe not as easy for Williams there. And then Cairns aren't really the tallest lineup. I mean, they run, obviously, Windenberg. I forgot his name already. Winden. I'm just going to call him the Berg. But he doesn't really play like a traditional tall. So, yeah, look, you can jump on him this week, run him for the next 3 games. Might work out for you sort of thing, but he is very expensive. So, you're going to have to find the funds somewhere. And he is someone that's good enough that you could keep him on his single as well. And that's the same thing with Parker Jackson Cartwright. He has the ability to drop these 51s, like these 45 pluses. Like, we saw it last week when he was on the single. Like, he can match people on his single, and he could be someone that could just sit on your bench for the singles moving forward in the season when they're out of their double streaks, and he'd just be absolutely fine for you. But yeah, outside of this, we saw Cummings, as I said, get up and play 22 minutes. I think had restricted minutes because he wasn't 100%. Browning ends up being amazing, and Creek was just so good in this game too. He got 2 steals and 2 blocks. Like, that's so nice for the Supercoach. And then all the points he was getting, great assists, gets rebounds, like, so good. But yeah, we'll jump back up to chronological order. So we're back to the Illawarra versus Cairns game, and oh gosh, what a game! Like, as I said, what a crazy finish. Harvey making that big shot at the end. Man, Miller's so good here. As I mentioned, this was where all the Miller owners were so chuffed about everything happening. And honestly, they had all right to be. 45 points out of him. You put the C on him. He's outscored PJC by 23 points in the first game. You're feeling so good about this. Aldridge comes out with a good game, which was really nice to see from him. Robertson, honestly, a little bit better. And this was a really down game for Clark. But I don't think really anyone has Clark. It's just Clark had been good for them for the last 2-3 games. So a bit of a step back there. And Froling just very consistent. Very good. But yeah, as I said, what a nuts game. Like, I was so surprised the Hawks ran away with a big lead. Cairns bring it back. They bring it back on the back of Miller as well. That was the thing. Like, Miller wasn't sensational early on, and then he just decided he needed the score. And he has that beautiful mid-range pull-up where he drives, he gets that little bit of separation because he's just so strong to just sort of get that little bit of a push-off, and then just gets up and just makes the shot. And he's just so good. And yeah, as I said, everyone that had him felt very rewarded. The Berg, now what a player he is. Sam Wandenberg, like, what? We should call him Sam Wonderboy. Like, he's insane. Like, it's obviously he has the center DPP with the forward eligibility, but he plays as the 5 on their team, but he's a playmaking 5. They love to get the ball in his hands at the top of the 3, and he has elite vision and elite passing, and he just makes great assists. The amount of times in these games, I got frustrated because he makes an insane dime to a player who has an open layup. I'm going to be honest, this happened to him and Clintman against Sydney, I swear, like 3 times. Like, a Wonder Boy gave him an absolute dime, or Clintman gave Wonderberg a dime, and they both just ended up missing the layups, and it was like, bro, come on, those are points. Like, and specifically for both of you being on field, like, that is so big. But yeah, that's the only thing that was hurting him, just sometimes players missing off these amazing passes, which suck. But he just does everything. He's so tall. He can get the rebounds. He has elite vision to get those assists, but then he can score inside, not super insane inside scoring, but he can easily nail the outside through, and he loves a mid-range jumper. Like, it's just so beautiful to watch. It's just such a good flow. Like, oh man, I know I'd been eyeing him off since like round 2, wanting him in my team, but now having him in my team to enjoy what he does, gosh, it's just elite. And that's the sort of, he does the same sort of things that we saw from Bannon. I remember when we saw Bannon in the preseason, he loves the ball because he loves being a playmaking big man. And this is, when you have a playmaking big man like with the Wonder Boy here, it just makes, like, there's so many scoring avenues, because all of a sudden they make this drive or they get this rebound and they're just making these dimes in or out of the key, outside, like everywhere. And he doesn't really get offensive rebounds, but he gets defensive rebounds. And look, in this kind of Supercoach, it doesn't matter what the rebound is. Defensive, offense, the same points are scored. So we're fine for him to, not be getting those offensive rebounds, but get the defensive rebounds. And as I said, just be at elite in offense because of what he does. So yeah, he's a huge pillar for Cairns in offense. It's nuts. We had Cole as well, who was really good in this game, and probably a lot of people considering Cole at this point. The only thing I'd say with Cole, obviously he had 2 really good games here, but he's playing elevated minutes because we don't have Armstrong or McCall. Like, once those guys come back, he's going to lose all these minutes that he has. Not all of them. He's going to lose a large chunk of these minutes, and he's no longer going to be the main guy in offense, because when you look at their lineup right now, you're thinking, who is their offense? Like, our Wonder Boy is obviously a great pillar. Miller is a great pillar as well when he wants to get his own bucket. But then outside of that, it's like, ooh, everyone else, like, they're not really crazy offensive threats. Like, Antonio loves a 3, obviously. But I look at them and I don't think anyone's crazy. But then Cole really stepped up and became that offensive threat, like that extra man they really needed this week. But as I said, when the other guards return, I'd see his output taking a step back. And even with that, I think he's priced at 190. That's about 19 points a game he's priced at. I mean, he's probably only playing 22 to 25 points a game. So he's playing a little bit above that. But as I said, once these other players come back, he's not going to be doing that. So if anyone considering him, I think you have to get him this week, because every week you decide not to get him. Like, if you get him next week, all of a sudden McCall might be back the following week or even that week. Same with Armstrong. Every week you wait, the more likely they're going to have a full lineup and he's going to be affected by that. So, look, I wouldn't recommend getting him, but if you do decide to get him, you just have to do it this week. But Latman, also really good from him because he's a really cheap price. So, really nice for his money-making ability. He's probably, 100k now? 110k, yeah, gone up very nicely. So very nice from him. He's just a nice jump shot. Not anything that stands out. And the biggest thing that stands out for Clintman, oh man, this is the other thing that was so punishing. Having Clintman on field, I was absolutely riveted when he was just so bad. Like, he just makes so many turnovers. That's the biggest problem with Clintman. He wants to make these highlight plays or force a play, and he doesn't have that elite ball handling that allows him to do that. And then he gets stripped of the ball, or he makes a bad pass. Like, I get it. He's young. He's going to learn. He's going to develop. But I think this is definitely a trend with some of these next gen. I forget what they're called. The next stars. They're younger players who aren't used to this sort of game, and because of that, they do make some sloppy turnovers. And as I said, he's definitely going to improve as he goes. But it's just, sometimes the man just needs to take a spill. Like, he gets into this game, instantly gets a turnover, but then he gets a steal, and you're like, okay, that's fine. But then he gets a turnover again. He goes to -1 in like the first 2 minutes being on the court. I say 2 minutes, it's probably like in the first 1 minute 30. And as I said, that was just, he gets this steal, and then he tries to sort of force a pass. I do think the pass was somewhat correct, but he kind of missed the target. But it is one of those things as well where it's like, okay, you also had like 2 defenders there. You're playing 2-on-2 trying to sort of force it in. You could just like take a breath, bro. You got the steal, chill out for a second, wait for your guards to come down, get it to them, run your set sort of thing. Like, you don't have to force it. Like, you got the steal, I get it. You want the highlight clip because you want to convert that into like a good score for your team and have that clip, but it's not the case. It wasn't happening. You were fumbling the ball. Just chill out, take a breath, run through your sets. But yeah, a little bit frustrating in this game that he just couldn't quite get it together. His 3 balls were off in both his games, honestly. He just couldn't hit an outside shot. Especially in this game, he couldn't score, and he just wasn't very good. So yeah, enough rambling about how Clintman just really didn't do well, and everyone that had him in the bench would have felt so good about it. And as I said, he does recover in game 2, but it's not enough to justify having him on field. But just because the way my team felt, I had to run him on field. Jumping in the Jack Jumpers versus Melbourne. Travers, oh my goodness, what an insane player Travers is. He was so good in this. Huck Body, very unlucky. I think Huck ended up with like 4 or 5 turnovers. And it was just very unfortunate. He was so close to just like really getting going, but just didn't quite get there, which was unfortunate. Clark had a good game, and Llewell Jr. did his thing. McVeigh had an amazing game here, and Doyle was just so subpar. Honestly, in both his games, he just didn't really do enough. He just didn't get going. Crawford also had a very poor game here, and yeah, just Tasmania just didn't look good in this game, if I had to be honest. Just didn't feel good for them. And yeah, Melbourne just sort of ran over them, and I think this got close in the end because Taz brought it back by going a bit nuts at the end. But it didn't really matter. Melbourne had too much of a lead, and then they just like ended the game from there. But yeah, Travers just insane to put down 43 points in a game. Huge ceiling on that man, but obviously he's done with his run at the moment, so he's a must trade for most people. So we're jumping into Perth versus Brisbane. Now, going into this game, a lot of people are talking about Perth versus Brisbane. They're both bottom of the table teams, and it feels like whoever loses, that's sort of their season done. Obviously, it's way too early to say that, but I think they're just trying to say, like, you can build momentum off this and still recover your season, where losing here is going to put you another step back, and you're just going to keep falling from there. And that's sort of what happens to Perth here. Like, they just keep losing. But Bryce got absolutely locked down by McDaniel, and McDaniel, I love what they're doing with him. Like, he's just going to the best guard in this game, and he's just shutting him out of the game. Like, he really shut Bryce out, and Bryce could not get going. And he got a lot of his points because he got a lot of assists, and he got a lot of steals, but he wasn't really hitting too many crazy shots. Only got really a few points towards the end of the game. But McDaniel's in both his game. He goes to Cotton, he goes to Doyle, and he shuts out the best guard in their team. And I honestly love it. I love what Brisbane are doing. I think they got their shit together. Like, they just look like a much better team in both their games this week, and definitely much more competitive. And Bannon, oh man, what a miss. It's so unfortunate in the sense that he had to come back last week. He doesn't come back last week, and he has this performance, and he stays at the 69k, and it makes it so easy to just get everything we want in our teams this week. But he had to have, of course, played, and because he played, he's had a massive 44k price rise. He's a must-get for everyone, and it's just very annoying in that sense. And anyone that got on him early just got absolutely rewarded. And look, we knew he was really good coming in, but because of it being the start of the Cairns run and New Zealand run, like, we had to get on sort of those players, and we just had to overlook Bannon. And even when I was planning for this, I planned on getting Bannon round 6 because I was hoping that he wouldn't be back and have a price rise until round 6. But he came back for 4, and because of that, it's ruined him. It's ruined our plans for this week. Hasn't ruined him. He's still a must-have because he's priced at basically 10, and he's someone that's going to be putting out at least 20 points, I'd say. So you're going to get, I'd say, 150k of worth off this man, because yeah, he's just really, really good. Elite big man that loves rebounding, and he can score inside. He has a good midi, and also just elite playmaking ability, great vision as well. Like, it's just so nice to watch. And that's what we saw in the preseason, and why so many people wanted to be starting on him, but you just couldn't because he had the injury, unfortunately. So yeah, that was Bannon just doing his thing. Sobey comes out at 27, where he got it together, I think, at the end of this game, getting some points on the board, which got him to the 27, so I was pretty happy with that. McDaniel was really good, Harris really good. Yeah, they were just a really good team, honestly, Bullets were. And then Perth just could not score. They absolutely sucked. Like, I think they had not even double-digit points in the first quarter. They were like at 8 or something at the first quarter. They just could not score. I mean, Pinder, he's shown it in the last few weeks. He got 50, last week in one of his games. Like, he has a massive ceiling, and he's just really good and a big pivot point for this team, that even when the team's doing bad, he's going to keep performing. And honestly, someone that's on my radar, and I'm sure on a lot of people's radar, because as I mentioned, Perth has this really good run right now where they have 5 out of the next 5 possible games. In the next 3 rounds, they play 5 games, which is the most possible for any teams. So it's a really good run for him. He's just been really good even in a bad Perth side. They also play New Zealand in that run, who, as I mentioned, they lack the inside depth to really stop him. So I could see him having a very big game there. And yeah, they only played 1 game, Perth. Yeah, Pinder came out with a big three as well. They couldn't hit any threes, and they had to rely on Pinder hitting like the first three of the game for them. And then he hit like a second, and Pinder just had a great game. Someone else I want to talk about too, Doolittle is, man, I'll got to be honest with you guys. I wanted to bring Doolittle into my team this week really badly. I had made plans for it because in reality, I think Doolittle's not bad. Like, he's not terrible. I think, as you saw, he got a 22 here. I think he is around that 22, 24 points, which would make him price at like his worth around that, say, 225-ish, the 250-ish range. But you can get him at 170 right now. So you're getting him for a minimum 40k cheaper, if not 80k cheaper than what he's worth. So he's someone that I actually was eyeing off on getting. The only reason you're getting him that cheap is he got injured with that -1, so it tanked his cash like crazy. That -1's out of his schedule now. He's got a break even of 23 in his double week. And as I said, I think he can easily make that. And I think he's going to start making money over the next few weeks. As I mentioned, Perth have a good fixture for the next 3 weeks. And they also come into New Zealand. That's a small side. Doolittle's a big man. And yeah, he's someone I really actually wanted. But Bannon's obviously forcing our hand. And it's just, you can't get everyone you want, unfortunately. And yeah, I really wanted Doolittle, and I love him as an absolute smoky pick. And if for those that maybe have Bannon and have another spot to fill, I would love to see Doolittle in your team because I think he's going to be a good pickup. I just can't make it work for my team, unfortunately, which is really sad because I really wanted to try and make it work. And trust me, I've been trying to make it work with my trades all since lockout ended, but it's not working for me. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass on him. But I love him as a smoky pickup. I think he will be worth it. Just great value as well. I think the biggest thing that caught me off guard here with Doolittle is I thought when I looked at him originally, he was a forward/guard DPP. So this entire time I was planning on moving Travers down to him, banking 100k, making upgrades elsewhere. But no, he's only forward eligible, which I'm just in a lock where I can't get another forward. I just can't do it. So unfortunately, I have to skip on Doolittle, and it's making me very sad. We'll jump down to the South Melbourne versus New Zealand game. Now, I know this is going for a while, guys, but there was a lot of games this week. There was 2 every single day. So there's 8 games in total to go through. We've just hit the halfway point, so we've got Saturdays and Sundays games left. I actually already talked about this, so we will jump down to the Cairns versus Sydney. So we got 3 more games left. Hopefully I'll wrap it up soon, and then we can go through some trades. For those that, I guess, have already jumped to the trades, good on you. But yeah, we have Wonder Boy here again with 32 points. It's just wonderful. Gets in the 60 overall for the team. And Clintman comes out with 30. And this was really the Clintman show. Like, he played big minutes this game. Like, they just wanted him on the court all game. And once again, he just made so many annoying turnovers. And as I mentioned, him and our Wonder Boy had 3 different plays where they should have assisted and scored, both of them being on our field. But they ended up fumbling and getting a turnover instead. And it was just, you get the 2 points for the score, you get the 2 points for the assist, you don't get the 2 points for the turnover. 6 points turnaround 3 different times. Like, boys, come on. It was unfortunate. But yeah, Cairns getting up on Sydney, that was, once again, very unexpected. DJ Hogg getting up against these old sides. And honestly, he kind of sucked. I didn't think he was doing much. I was very surprised when I saw him with 30 Supercoach points. They were really trying to get him going against his old side, and it just wasn't happening. Adams was as good as always. Noy was actually insanely good in this game, but he started really fire, and then he kind of dropped off. Valentine didn't really do much for the first half, and this is a huge one here. Alex Tui, 7 points. We talked about it. Hogue was going to kill Tui and Galloway once he was back, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, Noy also coming out of the gates absolutely firing, probably hurt them too because he was playing so well that he just had to take minutes. But yeah, Cairns getting up here crazy, and yeah, just Wonder Boy being so good. Oh man, Wonder Boy hit this mad 3. I forgot. Oh man, I remember thinking about it at the time. Now I just can't remember what happened here, but I remember him scoring a mad 3, and I was like, damn, this guy's so good. But yeah, Clintman was really good in this game too. A lot of steals. Oh my goodness, Klintman had a massive dunk opportunity that he missed. It was so sad. He beats him off the dribble, he elevates up double-handed, and he somehow puts it on the back of the rim and it just goes flying out. Oh my god, Klintman really left a 40 plus on the table here. Like, so many turnovers and so many missed opportunities. Like, I really think he should have gone 40 plus. This was a little bit unfortunate for Klintman. I say unfortunate, but yeah, just a few things didn't quite go his way. And I remember as I mentioned, Wonderboy missing some easy buckets. This is also super unfortunate for Miller here. This is actually what I was going to say about Wonderboy's 3, because he hits the 3 afterwards. But Miller, before we get to the accident, Miller gets a massive steal, full court, by himself, goes up for a slam, and gets rim blocked. Oh, I don't think I've seen someone get rim blocked like that in a long time. It was Miller's a gun, and I absolutely love what Miller's doing. It was a little bit embarrassing that he got rim blocked like that, but because of the rim block, Bobby ended up running up, getting the rebounds on his rim block and scores, and I'm just like, hell yeah, 3 points to me. Like, that's so much better. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure Wonderboy splashes a 3 straight after that play, after the Miller injures himself. So I say injures himself, but it was just very unfortunate. Miller obviously goes up for the play. He gets so high. This time he was making up for the dunk that rim blocked him before. Like, he looked so high, and he was definitely slamming that one home. But obviously takes the contact from, was it Boland? I feel like it was Boland who got into his side accidentally. Not accidentally, like, they go up for the block. He's gone up for the block as best as he could. Actually, it might have been Molach here. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm going to say Molach. That sounds like the name. But they've gone up for the block, didn't get it. Obviously, Miller just hits the ground so hard. He was so high, and he just really hurt his back, smacked his head, ends up missing out on the rest of the game. And this is so unfortunate for everyone that had the captaincy on Miller, because he was on track for 40 plus in this game. This is at the start of the third, and he's on 21 points. Like, he should have got 80 plus this week, 80 to 90 points, and absolutely burnt a lot of, like, everyone that didn't get on him and everyone that didn't captain him, but instead he gets injured, and somehow those people who made the correct play got punished, and it's just so unfortunate for everyone else, and so unfortunate for him. Like, I really hope he's all right. Like, he's an absolute gun. But yeah, straight after this, I'm pretty sure the free throws end up happening, and then I think off the free throw, we get the rebound, and then Wonderboy scores a 3 off it as well, which was nice, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, there was a good game to watch in reality, and good win from Cairns. Melbourne get up on the Hawks. Honestly, this one wasn't really as good as the game. I don't know. I'd say I was a little bit boring, but Goulding was pretty nuts. He was just splashing everything. Like, he just started like a house on fire, and he just kept on going. I think he put down 33 points. And he got 36 Supercoach, and that's exactly how Goulding works. His Supercoach score is so reliant on how much he actually scores, it's crazy. But yeah, 33 points, he was shooting fire. Illy had a good game, Lowell Jr. had a decent game. Cameron actually had a massive game, and Krebs got massively rewarded with Ian Clark being out. Got injured in their first game, something about his leg. I didn't remember it happening, but yeah, ended up missing the game, and Krebs started, and Krebs was really good. But yeah, Huckboard, comes out with the 15, and it's really unfortunate here because he got to the 10 rebounds. I thought, yes, he's getting that double-double. I then realized that he's only on like 4 points, and I'm like, oh, oh no. He ends up getting to the 7 points, and yeah, then he ended up having once again a bunch of turnovers, and it was just like, gosh, damn it. I think maybe 2 turnovers he had. And then Travers in this game had 6 turnovers as to why he was down on 7. But yeah, not a good game from Travers. This was really night and day from Travers from his first game to this game. It just wasn't impressive at all, and kind of good for me in reality, because most people had Travers on field. Like, Travers, I think, is the most highly owned player in the top 1%. 97% of the competition, maybe 98% of the competition, the top 1% have him. And then I think 92% of those players had him on field, and I was in the 8% that didn't. And if he came out with another big game, that was going to be super punishing. So really lucky he didn't here. But yeah, really unfortunate for Huck Porty. I really thought he was going to get this double-double, and then when I saw him get subbed off and he was on 7 points, I was like, no, he's not coming back on for this last 4 minutes. That's so unfortunate. But Greg Clark steps back up in this game, 37 points. Like, that's really good from him. Robinson comes out with 36, I think 62 in total. So for those that ended up holding him, ended up getting rewarded. So well done there. Froling puts down 31. So 68 in total. Really good from him. And then Harvey, not so much in this game. And yeah, Aldridge obviously not as good in this game either. And we'll jump to the last game of the round where Brisbane end up getting up. They had a very big lead. Taz brought it back again, but this was really the Sobey show. Like, oh man, Sobey gets 2 fouls in the first quarter and gets subbed off for the remainder of the first and doesn't even come back at the start of the second. I'm sitting there like, no, oh my goodness. Like, I really thought my week was coming good, and now it's gone terrible. But no, Sobey shows up and he goes bananas. Sobey was also someone that he hits the first free throw, misses the second, ball gets passed out to him at like almost the half court, and then he splashes a three. Like, he had the hot hand. He was nuts. He was just hitting shots, looking so good, getting steals. Yeah, he was nuts. It was so good that he got up to this 37 and just, yeah. Sobey is another person with a very high ceiling. He has the ability to shoot, and he's allowed to shoot as much as he wants. And it just looked really good, and we loved it. And Bannon, once again, comes out with 30, and this is why he's a must-have, a 28 and a 30 when he was priced at $69K. My goodness, that's insane. Saying that, obviously, we know that Bain will be back this week. I think Bain will affect him because he does play that 4, and he was at some stages playing 5 in these games. Obviously, it mostly affects Harrison, and I think if you just move Harrison out, move Bain in, maybe it doesn't affect Bannon as much as I'm thinking it will, but I do think he will be affected, probably a 5-point skirt back at least each game, so maybe he's going to look closer to that 20-25 range, but once again, 110K for someone that's going to put out those numbers, like, that's insane. You're going to make easily 150 plus K on him. Like, he's just so good and just a must-have because of it. But yeah, crazy game for Brisbane to come in and win. Really didn't see that coming. McVeigh once again comes with a good game. Crawford not too bad, and Doyle just not really the guy. I mean, Crawford almost ties the game at the end. They get the steal, and he has that 3 ball at the end that was very close. But yeah, Doyle just not really making it work, and I don't know, he was very lackluster in these 2 games, and maybe people should consider maybe not trading back in. I mean, look, he probably doesn't have a run of doubles for a while, and hopefully by then he can get out of this little slump he's in and get back to the Doyle at the start of the season that we saw. But anyone that ended up picking up McVeigh and holding McVeigh, like, damn, he came out absolutely nuts for you guys. So congrats there for anyone on him. But yeah, I guess that's the round recap of all the games. That's probably taken up a lot of the video here because there was so many games to go through, and I really just talked about them all. Here we can see, obviously, all my players, again, how they turned out. Now, coming into this week, obviously, we've got South Melbourne on the double, so we will have Creek jumping in for Clintman. And then, because Melbourne's run is now done, so we will be moving Huckporty out. We'll be moving Travers out, and then this is where the problem comes. Like, I want Henshaw out of my team so bad, but there is no one at an appropriate price to move into that slot. And with Armstrong being question mark away, it's one of those things where I don't want to be moving someone in, and then Armstrong's playing this week, and then the following week I have to get Armstrong in, and I just kind of have to move the person straight back out. That seems a little bit redundant, especially considering, as I mentioned, Perth have a crazy good run here. Henshaw maybe might get court time and potentially 1 or 2 of these games here or there, and maybe it's not so detrimental that he's just, that he hasn't done too much. Saying that, anyone that started Bannon instead of Henshaw just actually got way more rewarded than playing Henshaw, which is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, just the way this team has worked, it's just ended up so awkward here, and it's kind of annoying. Aldridge is actually cheaper than Bannon, so I'd have to move money up to get to Bannon, and it just hasn't really been working. So my plan here was to always be using a boost. The plan was Aldridge to honestly be going out here, but it's just not what's going to happen. He also has that -3 break even, so I mean, him playing a single, it's not as good as Saar playing. Like, I would much rather keep Saar, especially as I said, they have a good run. But I'm pretty sure I just have to move Saar. Like, I don't know. I don't see another way of doing this. I'm pretty sure Saar just has to go, unfortunately. for me to make this work. And then we end up moving. Oh, well, I wanted you on the bench actually, but look, we'll bring in who I want to bring in first of all. We'll bring in Pinder, move Aldridge down. Then, as we know, we have to get Bannon in because he is insane. There goes Bannon. And as I mentioned, this is where no longer I can't get Doolittle, and that's the really unfortunate thing. We need the money here for, we need the money here, and just when I look at guards, if I click on filter, I look at guards I can afford, and honestly, a lot of these guards aren't the guards I want, and a lot of them don't have good fixtures. Like, we're not going to get McDaniels back in. Like, it was great McDaniels had a good game 1. Game 2 was a bit subpar. But, look, I did plan on keeping him originally, but it didn't end up happening. Melbourne's run has ended. We're not going any of these guys. Webster's just not the guy. Neither of the Websters are the guys. And, yeah, we're sort of just out of options already. Like, they're just not very good. Like, the best thing we have here is going Bull Qual. Oh, my goodness. I hate this. I hate going for him. But, I mean, if McColl's still out for 2, maybe 3 weeks if we're lucky, until he's back, I doubt that. And then Armstrong, how far away is he? Is Miller going to be missing an extended period of time? Because, I mean, once all 3 of them are back, I think Qual is ruined. 2 of them back, it's definitely going to have a negative effect on him. And then even 1 of them back, it's fine because we saw when Miller was in the team, it wasn't bad for Qual at all. But as I mentioned, even with him with Price, I think he's playing at a level of someone that's worth 220, 250, like in between 220 to 250k. It's not huge, but the second those players come in, they're going to make his output drop, and then he's no longer going to be worth it. And I just hate picking up Qual. And it just doesn't work. That's the best thing I've found so far, and I absolutely hate it. As I said, I love getting Pinder in. Technically, we could go for Williams instead of Pinder if we really wanted. Even if we technically move Wonderboy down, and then we could bring in Doolittle this way, and all the extra money means that I can bring in like Bryce down here. But then I've got the choice of moving one of these guards to the bench, and it's just not ideal. Like, I definitely prefer having someone up here. And gosh, let's click on average again, because where's Williams? Yeah, even if we just throw Williams in there. Once again, Pinder has a slightly better run, and I think I like Pinder as the play. Williams being so good, though. But then, yeah, just the extra money as well. It means that there's so many options here for us, but there's just not a good one. And that's the frustrating thing here. It's so frustrating to just not have a good auction. Obviously, there's 100k between Aldridge and Sarr, so even if I was to move Aldridge over Sarr and keep Sarr for the points moving forward, it doesn't quite work out either, because then I have like no money really for a guard. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to put this together for now, just so that we've got something there. I'll obviously release my tweets at the end of the week to confirm my final trades. I don't know. I don't think this is honestly going to be it. I don't think it is, but at the same time, it's the best thing I've been able to come up with. And this is where I mentioned, obviously, I've locked myself out of Doolittle. I mean, I could technically get Doolittle by moving Pinder to Doolittle. And then, as I mentioned, the extra money means that I can get someone who's not Qual, but then I'm running Doolittle on field or Klintman on field, and it just... Maybe I could run Bannon on field. Yeah, it just doesn't feel good. Anyway, like, as I said, I'll send out a tweet at the end of the week to confirm what I do with this. But yeah, we have game 1 here where we already know Parker Jackson Cartwright dropped over 50 points against Cairns in week 1. Yep, 57. And if Miller ends up being out, Armstrong hasn't returned, and McColl's not back, they are missing all their guards, and you would think that Cartwright's going to come out and do it again. They're also up against South Melbourne, who, yeah, Ben Ayres is a good guard. Sorry, no, they're up against Sydney, who honestly have been giving up Supercoach points. So, yeah, I think, once again, PJC is just the answer for the captaincy. I mean, if you want to go something spicy, guys, feel free to. If you want to go Williams, feel free to throw Williams in there. That's pretty spicy. If you have Jalen Adams, Illawarra and New Zealand, they are both weak teams in reality, so he could go very big on them. Gosh, is that a better play? Yeah. Okay, I'm just give me a second here. Just give me a second. It's probably not correct at all what I'm about to do. But I just want to look at this and see how this looks. The answer is it's probably not going to look very good. What happens if we throw Adams in? And then we throw Doolittle in. Yo. Once again though, that's the problem. Like we've got to move one of these players to the bench. Like I love Adams on field here. This would be so sick. Move Sobey to Adams. Yeah, I think that looks so sick. But then, as I said, up here it's just not as valuable. And we just saw, Sobey scored 37 points against Tasmania. So it's a bit hard to not pick him there. This was another reason why I didn't grab Bannon in the week, and so a reason why I wasn't captaining Sobey is because they were playing Tasmania back-to-back in their doubles. Like, they had them in this double that they just played, and then the next one. And Tasmania is such a restrictive team that I thought there's no way picking up Brisbane players is a good idea, because I considered keeping McDonald, I considered bringing in Norden, I considered Bannon, and I was like, nah, Brisbane players aren't the go this week. Like, it's just not going to work. And then they end up beating Tasmania, and Sobey was insane, and it was just very unexpected. And as I say, every time I expect something from the schedule, it just doesn't play out the way I envision it. But look, Adams is just really consistent. This doesn't look terrible, but yeah, look, this is the wrap-up of the video, guys. I've rambled on way too long again. As I said, I'll send out a tweet at the end of the week confirming what I'm actually doing with this, because it's a bit of a mess, and I think this is where the teams are going to vary a bit. Like, last week's trades were definitely very easy. People had planned those out for weeks in advance, and they were very ready to go to them. This week, it's chaotic. A lot of people doing a lot of different things. I think I'm probably the only person wanting Doolittle so bad, and it's probably not the correct play, but it's just what I want. I just want him. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate those that have waited till the end of the video. Like, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments down below. Tell me how you went. Tell me if you agree with any of these trades or if I'm just losing my mind here. And yeah, just keep me up to date, guys. I love it all. Anyway, till next time, peace. Later.